see everybody step up and step in and be here. And I'm so grateful to be here, to be able to present. Yes, we are recording, Melissa. Perfect. And to train and to talk to y'all. And I'm grateful that you're here. And I'm grateful for you. Thanks for that introduction and being a part of this. And I love when you come to Phoenix, and I love Denver, Colorado. I love Colorado. I miss it, but it is interesting weather, and there's no ocean. So it's one of those places I'm gonna have to buy a house, but not necessarily spend a lot of time there. Right on, everybody. Man, I've got a circus of training today. Circus. I'm gonna text my team real quick just to let them know we are starting. And they know this, but for some reason they're avoiding it. And we're in the middle of a challenge, so they should be here. All right, I'm just kidding, but I'm gonna text them. We are on the training now. Okay, welcome. I got some stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the chitty chats, and I'm going to text in 760-533-3141. 760-533-3141. I am going to, we talked a little bit about, I've had some fun the last couple of weeks with you guys, and I'm kind of trying to focus on that, the Renatus wealth cycle. So as you guys know, I'm always gonna bring something to talk about, because I can talk. I'm narcissistic, so it's pretty easy for me to talk about whatever I'm doing. But thank you, Corey. Perfect. And text some folks, get them on the call. But for you and everybody, all the yous on here, you guys know it's more important to you to get your questions answered, your, I don't know, topics covered, your immediate needs met, as far as like if you're working with somebody, if you've got a text that you don't know how to respond to, a client, whatever the case is, then you can come off mute, you can type in the chat, and then of course, if it's something specific, you can always reach out to me in the future on my phone. Remember, if I don't answer, or if I haven't gotten back to you that day in like 24 hours, then hit me up again with a phone call or another text, because I literally just went through, I probably have about 30 drafts of texts that I'm looking at right now. I had to go back all the way through for like 2 months and get people back up to the top that perhaps I was gonna text and I never did, and it's embarrassing. So then I had a guy text, Facebook me last night from a post, and there was something from like 2 years ago I didn't respond to on Messenger, but I was never very good at Messenger. But anyway, so hit me back up. All right, couple things. Wealth cycle. All right, one thing to realize, most of you probably know this. So I love real estate. I'm in real estate, and Bob talks about this. In fact, on the last webinar, not yesterday or the other day, but a week ago, I believe he mentioned it. We have, or I can't remember, I don't know, maybe it was on a pit pack call. Anyway, we have a dilemma, right? We have a situation that most other companies don't have, and that is where a product works. A product is not something you store in the garage. It's not something you have a monthly subscription to. It's not an autofill. It's not something you get sick of. It's something you can literally monetize, right? All right, Deborah Brick, can you please explain how the OES works? Yes. Is it specific for each team? So if you want to participate in other groups, yes. Okay. This is a great question. And this is all about your business. I love this. So remember this, folks. As an ICM, an independent contractor marketer in good standing, any one of you in the entire nation can put any event you want on the calendar. Renatus has narrowed those events down specifically to unedited events that if you use their description and you just go, click on place an event on the calendar, you can get it approved and you can host an event. You are an independent contracted marketer. You have been trained to do so. You can host it in your house. You can go rent an office space. You can go do whatever you choose, as long as it is in compliance. You're not guaranteeing anything. You're not, committing fraud or anything like that, and you're just sticking with the guidelines of the ICM agreement and within the guidelines of all the events that we have. Now, most of us could do an intro, perhaps. Maybe you could do a property tour of your own, and you can do it however you want. You don't have to do an introduction at the property tour. You can do it whatever you want, as long as you have the compliant slides, if you're using slideshows, as long as you do all those things. All right. I know I'm going in a little more detail, but this is very important. This is fantastic for the wealth building, for owning a business, and for bringing on team members to help support your communities. So I love this question. So understand, as you take it more seriously and not just a home event in your house, perhaps, right? It doesn't cost anything for you, maybe unless you go buy some water or you buy some hors d'oeuvres and you have friends over and do an intro, or a cash recovery party, or whatever the heck you do at your house. There's no overhead. As you begin to become a market leader, if perhaps you are like Bill out in New York and you decide you're going to eventually start your own business of marketing, then a ringing echo. I know I've heard that. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that ringing echo is. I apologize. I've heard that before. Maybe this is a brand new computer, so it could be me. I apologize. So check it out. I'll speed this up. Whatever it is, if you decide to run a business, and you're all running a business, but if you decide to create a community and you start to build a team, and then you decide to rent an office, and then you decide to take it serious and buy the banners from Renatus, and you are buying a new computer so that you can do check-in, and you are buying a screen, and you're buying all of the necessities to make it a professional setting to increase the chances of you closing business and things like that. So with that, people have developed, as Michael Huggins, you heard the other day, he spends over probably $2,000 a month to do all of the text messaging, Facebook messaging, all of the things that he does, let alone when we had office space, which is anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 a month for office space. And so that is a business that we offer to all the people on our teams and people that are ICMs and all that stuff. So Renatus sponsors intros. Every intro across the country should be free. If it's not, let the person know that doing it, that they can't charge for that. Not for you and not for your guests. Profits intros, regular intros, any of those things are sponsored events by Renatus, okay? If they do a live streaming like this training and it's for ICMs and it's free, you can't charge for it, okay? But follow-ups, property tours, study groups, Super Saturdays, these are not Renatus endorsed products or services. These are individuals that are learning from Bob Snyder all the way down the pack through the pit to everybody else, and market leaders to learn to do more supporting events. And for that, they provide services. They provide all the things I talked about, the amenities and the area and the place to do it. So they build a business around marketing, and as you know, and so that takes on overhead. And that individual that is hosting those events, instead of charging an individual fee, perhaps, which is an option, you can charge a fee for every event. You could charge a fee for your event at your house as long as it's not an intro, and you put it on the calendar. As long as it's on the calendar, everybody from across the nation as an ICM can go on, click on it, register themselves, and register their guests. And if you want to charge $100 or $50 or $20, it's up to you, unless it's an intro. And then if you start to have multiple events, it gets very expensive. Nobody's going to come. Nobody can afford it. Nobody wants to pay for it all that much. So we do a big blanket thing, and it's like only $50 per territory. If you're under Elevate or Utah or Denver or Michael or Brian Black or Chicago, they don't have an OES. They have monthly personal, they have events fees for each individual event. But all the ones, Seattle, Phoenix Alliance, whatever it is, those people host an OES, and that is an optional event subscription. It's not required, as you guys know. And so with that, that goes to the individual. It goes through Renatus. Renatus takes a percentage to process the payment, and then they send the money back to the individual that hosted the event and charged the fee minus their fee. And that is paid to the individual, and that usually reimburses some, not all, typically, of the cost of running that business and having 30, 40, 50, 60, 10, 100, 300, 500 people at an event on an, in a market, utilizing the same resources that are provided by one or two people. Okay, so that is the OES. So yes, if you are inviting people to intros across the country, that should all be free. You shouldn't have to pay for multiple OESs. You should have one OES. For example, I'm no longer with Scottsdale OES. I pay Denver's OES through Michael Huggins. And my team is in transition. I'll talk about that real quick. So, but everybody should be paying, in my opinion, an OES to some event subscription wherever you're plugging in. This event, these 4 events that we do Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 8, is run by Michael Huggins and was invented by Michael Huggins, I guess, if that's the right word, and his team. And I don't know what this platform costs for him just specifically. I mean, obviously, I know my Zoom platform is somewhere in the neighborhood of $100 a month for all my people on the events I run, and that doesn't include my domains and so on and so forth, right? So even though we're not in a building, we still have a lot of overhead. So that OES subscription is specific to that event, and then that way you can plug in. So if you get people from all over the country that are going to a different intro for free, then you can plug them into your events here, especially since we're nationwide. But eventually, they're going to want to join their business. If they decide to do the ICM business, then they can pay their own OES at their own territory, if it's Seattle or wherever they live, and so on and so forth. And that's what the OESs are. So it is an additional $50 a month to run your business. And really, to my knowledge, you don't have another monthly expense, right? You have a yearly expense for your ICM, but you have no monthly expenses unless you're placing a Craigslist ad, which used to cost money, but we're not doing that anymore compliance-wise. So if you're doing, most of our marketing is pretty free. So it's a very, 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 very low cost. I mean, it's almost non-existent in my opinion for the amount of training and events that you can plug your guests into, as well as yourself, to get guests to the event. Bam. There we go. I hope that cleared it up. My suggestion is get on a OES of some sort somewhere. Right now, Denver, if you're paying Michael Huggins or Ryan Black, those 2 OESs are coming together, and they both count for all the events that Ryan and Team Elevate all across the country is doing. If you're going to Phoenix Alliance, if you're going to Seattle, if you're going to Chicago, if you're going to Minnesota, if you're going to New York, if you're going to Chicago, Atlanta, Florida, those all have their own OESs. The other thing is that there has been a transition here, as we've said. So there's been some freebies, if you want to call it that. We've been trying to use an abundance mindset. We haven't been worried about overhead and all those things in this transition, where we're going from phase 1 of COVID, / Zoom, to phase 2 of COVID / Zoom, where we've consolidated groups. We've come together to try to bring more energy. As you guys know, it's been a better system, better process. We're creating more events. We're creating more leaders, and we're creating all kinds of opportunity for everybody. Michael's doing a Tuesday noon intro on profits. We've got follow-ups, property tours on Saturdays and Wednesday nights, all these different study groups. So everybody's pitching in. So for that, there's one OES, and we haven't required, like if you were paying one in Scottsdale and you were paying over here or over there, we were allowing everybody to come in. Eventually, the 2 people really running the business and paying for everything right now are Michael and Ryan. So we should get on Michael and or Ryan Black's OES for Team Elevate and support this endeavor, because we're going to hunker down here for a little while. Hopefully not that much longer, but it's nowhere near where we thought. We're obviously stuck in Zoom for a while. All right, great question. Had a Facebook contact attend the property tour, loved it. What do I say to them now to move them to the next step? Okay, so this is exactly what I was going to talk about. I'm going to lead into this question and keep coming to questions, but the next 35 minutes is going to be powerful in my opinion, because I'm doing it myself. I got to tell you, it's so much easier to talk about something that you're doing than in theory, right? And back in the day, you know, when people started making money in real estate and then they stopped making money and markets changed, what they would do is teach what they knew. They teach what they taught, what they did, but they weren't doing anymore, right? So Ron LeGrand and Carlton Sheets and all, you know, these pioneers, if you will, all even up until the early 2000s and stuff, mid 2000s, you know, the history was they did it, they got very successful, they got recognized for it, and then they started training real estate education on old strategies. You know, Bob has, you know, in his genius mentality, has pioneered a practicing instructor. Rarely do you get instructors, teachers, educators, coaches that literally are doing it day in, day out. You know, I mean, I'm telling you, like, I know coaches from Fortune Builders. One of them is on my team that leads our Pittsburgh team. And, you know, it's not all it's cracked up to be when it comes to these coaches and these people in front of the rooms on the weekend seminars. They are salespeople. They're there to sell. Just like you as an ICM are there to sell the education. Their job is to fill a room, right? That's not, their job is to pull money out of the room, right? The room gets filled by the company through major radio, infomercial, advertising, billboards, all that crap. And then people go to these hotels and it's paid for by the company. And then they bring in this person who's paid to be there. And then they're paid commissions on top of it, but they haven't done real estate in forever. I'm not saying they don't do any real estate. They're not a practicing instructor. So, so we bring in practicing instructors, and that Bob has pioneered that. Now, with that being said, I'm not gonna finish up my topic necessarily that I started out with our dilemma on the fact we all know that our product is valuable, and we tend to struggle between doing real estate and doing marketing. So to answer this question and move into this training, I want to say this. I can't remember where I was going with my stupid practicing instructor thought, and I had a really good thought from the beginning there, and it'll come back to me about the way it used to be. So hopefully I'm trying to remind myself. But I want to tell you, there's no question that there is. We don't know what's coming, but you know, there's some rules when it comes to people not paying rents over this COVID thing. There are some rules with people going into forbearance with the banks. Okay, if their rents aren't being paid, then they're not paying their mortgages. Then they are working things out with the banks. Okay, and very soon there will be a flood of evictions, I would guess. Okay, it's a possibility. It's a very good likelihood. There will be a tsunami of foreclosures because the forbearance has to be paid. So does the rent. It's forgiven for now, but if they're not saving their $600 checks, they're not going to be living for free. I don't care who gets elected. The Democrats are not going to just pay for everybody to live for free or pay everybody's mortgage. So there's going to be a problem, and people are starting to be aware of it. In fact, the gurus are talking about it, right? And so, in my opinion, in the wealth cycle of Bob Snyder is that we get prepared to take advantage, for lack of a better term, a downturn, a turn in the real estate business. And now, come on, follow me on this. Most investors are focused on fix and flip and wholesaling, maybe a little bit of private money, you know, maybe some buy and hold lease option strategies. They might learn a little bit of subject to, but they need money like everybody else, 99% of America. They're focusing on getting a deal under contract and selling it. When the market moves and you can't wholesale a damn contract and you don't have another strategy, you're SOL, you're out of luck, you're done. You are a one-time pony, and you're whatever it's called. I don't know what kind of pony that is. We shouldn't even have ponies in this conversation. We should have people. So you are a single individual knowing one strategy, and you're out, right? Fix and flip is not going to be that easy until you figure out how to raise private money in a down market where no one wants to do real estate, and no one wants to have, everybody's holding on to their money. So you got to learn how to raise private money and give opportunity presentations to people. That's even bigger opportunity in a down market. You got to be able to shift, move, and trade. And we have all of that, okay? So one of the ways you've heard me say this is let's prepare for that. Let's stop trying to do real estate in a market like this and focus on all the people that are trying to do real estate in a market like this. Everybody right now wants to learn to do real estate, and they want to learn because the media is talking about it. Well, barely because of COVID, but it's out there. They see all they hear about the interest rates. They hear about all the lack of supply. They hear about the demand. They hear about people making money. They see the construction. They understand rents are going up. All of it, one trick pony. Thank you guys. You don't have to be smart to do this, right? You just have to study your classes. Come to these trainings and take some notes and do what we're doing. So I'm gonna answer this question, you guys, but I'm getting somewhere. The more you study some of the tricks of the trade that you're not even using right now, the better off you're going to be, right? And I'm telling you, I talked to a guy until my throat was sore about understanding that, you know, we're hands-on. I don't learn from a book. I don't learn from a tape. I don't learn from a video. I learn hands-on. I learn with experiences. I want to be out there doing it. I get all that. That's an excuse for not wanting to do anything. Like, honestly, you got to learn somewhere. If books and tapes and videos and instruction and education didn't work, we wouldn't have it. We would just have everybody out in the world just trying it out. But you have to have a foundation. You have to have a resource. You have to have a beginning. You have to have a place of starting. You have to learn what to do before you do it. It doesn't mean that you can't have some ignorance on fire, but freaking go back and study it again and again. And so you can figure it out. Then you rely on your other people's experiences, your mentors and your coaches, because you know what to ask. Otherwise, you're just asking someone to tell you what to do because you don't know what to do. So if we study and we prepare for a downturn, here's what we could do. We can fix our own crap by selling the education and making a ton of money. Because right now the demand for the education is unbelievable. Can you imagine the demand for the education in 2008, 9, 10, 11, and 12? There wasn't. Nobody wanted to get into real estate. You had to find the diamonds in the rough. It was not everybody just going, oh my God, if I had the money, I'd do this right now. That wasn't the case. And even the people that did have them, that did want to do it, that actually said, yeah, I really want to get into real estate. In a down market, when everybody's running from real estate, they couldn't find a dime to save their life because everybody's purse strings had tightened up. Okay, so this being said, we'll move forward. I'm going to remember some ideas. I got to make sure I'm not missing anything. There's a tsunami coming, and the gurus are they're that's a fear, okay? That's a fear instilled by the gurus to the people that don't want to miss learning how to get involved in education, right? Because they want to be ready for this gold rush, right? The next gold rush coming down the pipe. So naturally, when they're presenting this information, people are out looking. They're going to see it. It's going to be in their mind. And it's up to us to get to them so they get the right education in the right company in the right opportunity, and not some guru weekend guy who hasn't, or girl who hasn't done a deal in forever, is literally trying to pull money out of people based on fear, right? And doesn't have the correct support system or even the right strategies that you're teaching, all right? So you have the ability to understand the concepts of Renatus and the true wealth cycle that you can start to make money, and then you could buy property. It is possible that, I don't know how many deals you guys have done. I don't care if it's 0 or 100. The opportunity to buy again in a down market, you heard me say, is an unbelievable opportunity. But it helps if you have money and credit and resources and other people's money and private lines and equity in your home and things like that, and you're paying down debt. So, and your taxes are correct and your structure is proper with your entities. So all of these foundational courses that we have, and then you have strategies like foreclosures, auctions, short sales, REOs, lease options, and things like subject to that you could take advantage of, because you have all those strategies that have nothing to do with making a house pretty and wholesaling a deal and making a quick buck. Okay, we can make a quick buck right now with no risk by selling this information. So Keo says that she has these Facebook contacts, and we have these things coming in. You may have leads coming in. And what do we say? So I wrote this down, and if you're taking mental notes, tell nothing, ask everything. Okay, there you go, Michael Huggins. I got a quote too. I'm just kidding. I'm very competitive, and I get very jealous because Michael's a stud and I'm barely a stud. next to Michael. So I'm inspired. So check it out. Say nothing, ask everything. Okay. So it's interesting because she said the property tour, they loved it. What do I say to them to move them to the next step? You don't say anything. Okay. We don't tell anybody anything. And I know we all heard this, right? You got to ask questions, question-based selling. I get it. Okay. But how does it work? So let me give you an example. I mean, I have struggled, you guys, for the last 5 months. I have had more no's from warm market qualified people than I have had in the last 5 months than I've had in the last 3 years from warm market qualified individuals that I thought for sure were funding. And now it's at 8. I just had another one, I think I told you a couple weeks ago. And my numbers are lower than they want to be. I think I'm at 52 grand for the year. And there's 5 months left. And it's a little nerve-wracking because again, my goal is to make over 150, so I at least qualify for the pack, right? So I've got to get my butt in gear. I'm working with my team to do so, and so I have run into the same problems everybody else is running into with COVID. All right, whatever. But I haven't quit, and I've been posting a little bit more on Facebook. I've been studying the Rob Sperry class. I've been talking to Rob Sperry about it. I hired an assistant. I've listened to the trainings. I'm paying attention. I'm getting on more trainings than I have, right? I'm focusing even more on marketing than I have and less on my real estate. It's taken me longer to do some real estate just because I don't have as much time. I mean, it's not drastic, but I'm making an effort, right? Instead of just going back to what I know that makes me money, which is real estate. So I posted something the other day. I've been posting some things, and a girl from my high school, I've actually had multiple leads for, recently. So she has been following my pictures for what she said years. And I know you've heard these stories, but this is a friend of mine from high school. I played football with her brother. I knew Lori very well. And so my number one is, if you don't have a deal to post or you don't have something to post, copy and paste and make a comment about it, right? It's not a training on what to say in your post, but people follow and people are interested. So when Keo says, I don't know what to say, I didn't know what to say. The first thing I said was, would you like to get on a call, right? And so check this out. She hadn't been to a single event. So this is the way I did it. When she commented on my post, I said, this was her comment. She goes, Bill, this has always been a dream of mine. When I'm retired, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm like, and my post was, why wait? I can help. She's like, really? I'm interested. Right. So I told her I could help. That was my reply. Hey, and then I went and I PM'd her myself. I just instant message her, private message, direct message, whatever you want to call. And I said, hey, you don't have to wait. The time is now, whatever I said. You can say whatever you want. And I asked if she wanted to see something, right? Would you want a little information? And then she said, yeah, and send me anything you got, right? So, I told her what it was, and I just sent her, my BIF, right? That Bob Snyder. It's my easiest one because to me, that qualifies somebody. It's very uninvasive. I don't even know if that's a word, but it is real simple. If she didn't like it, then there's no, I didn't put any effort into it. And I at least showed her what I want. But I know this, okay? And you guys know this. If you don't feel comfortable mentoring someone in real estate, then you're not going to do it. And I feel comfortable mentoring, but I know I'm not going to do it. That's not my goal. My goal is simply this. I'm going to introduce you to the resources that help me get to where I'm at, right? And if you're not interested in those resources, I'm not interested in working with you. That's just a fact. I'll take your money. If you got a deal, I'll take it. But I'm going to win. We're both going to win, but I'm going to win more than you win unless you want to get educated, right? And educated through my system. And so that's my focus. When people call me and they're like, hey, I got this restaurant opportunity. You should see this new building. Are you interested in raising some money, investing in this? No, it could be the next best gold mine. And I don't have the time or energy, and I don't have the focus. I don't care if it's going to guarantee me $1 million. It's not something I'm looking at. So when people are like, hey, if I could coach, if they're not interested in the surface level of what I send them, then I can't force them along. But she was interested. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit and talk a couple more stories and really say this. Okay. So when I didn't know what to say to her, and I got her to give me her number because she went to my property tour and on Saturday, and she was like, after she watched the videos, actually, I sent her Dane Clark's intro, and I sent her Michael Huggins. No, I didn't send her the follow-up. I sent her, didn't have Chris Wilson's thing. I don't remember. I sent her two things. It might have been one of my real estate workshops. So check it out. About 3 hours of video, plus the Bob Snyder Biff, right? Where he does the 3-minute and then the 38-minute. Listen, she watched it. When someone watches it, they're interested. If they don't watch it, how bad do they want it? If you send them something and they don't watch it, like frick, they're not interested. They can want all they want, but they don't desire it. They're not in a situation where it's that important to them. Like this chick was interested in doing real estate. She works 4 freaking jobs. She passes up opportunity all the time. Now she has a great job. She is set. She has done she has taken care of herself. She has an 820 credit score. How do I know? I asked. So check this out. Fast forward, we get on the phone, and I got her information to register for the event, so I wanted to put her in the system. She went to my tour. She loved it. She's like, I'm like, when can you talk on Monday? She's like, great, anytime. We schedule a time via direct message. She gets me her phone number because I had it from them registering her, right? I had no idea what I was going to say. I hadn't talked to Lori since high school, really, right? And so one of the things I knew, it was not going to be a conversation. Hey, how you doing? How are the kids? But we still had to catch up. I didn't know how it was going to go. But how do you know how it's going to go? And how do you work the way that it's going to go? Is you ask, hey, what's going on? Tell me a little bit about what you do, right? So I go right into her work because I don't really know what an athletic trainer does. I didn't even know what college she worked for, and it's in Michigan. So we talked a little bit about that and COVID, right? But I'm asking questions. I'm not telling anything. I'm not saying anything about Renatus. I did not go right into, what did you like best or any of that crap. I built a little bit of rapport just by asking her specific things that I need to know. What's got you interested? And if the funny thing is when you ask, what did you like about the tour? Or what's got you interested in real estate, or how long have you wanted to do real estate? It's like, I've been watching the shows forever. I watch every single show. I didn't even know. She started telling me that her parents, who I knew her dad as a working guy who plowed driveways and, ran a business in the summer of landscaping or something like that. And I knew her mom was an EMT. I didn't even know. They had 13 rental properties in Houghton, in my small little town. I had no idea. She told me about how her grandfather started it and that the parents had to buy into it, and then that's how they acquired them and were passed down. Her mom had this place on the lake. I'm like, no way. That's exactly where I want to buy a place in the lake back in where I grew up. And then her mom had a place there. So now I'm like learning. I'm just asking. I'm not talking anything about me or my real estate or anything. I'm asking about them. And I set aside an hour-long conversation. But the first 30 to 40 minutes was understanding you guys. So let's focus this a little bit. Understand that I don't care if they're going to the event, right? Or if they've gone to an event and you got to ask, what do we say? How do we move them to the next step? Folks, they will tell you how to move them to the next step when we get on the phone and we ask. You call them up, you text them, you don't know anything. It has to be a question. Not how are you? What have you been up to? How's it going? Those are not pointed questions. They're going to take you whatever direction they want. And they're very general. You just want to know where they're at. So it was interesting. I'm like, and she even had mentioned about this one house. She's like, I see these things. I see these houses all the time and I pass them up. And she had sent me this on a text or something like that, or a Facebook message. And I'm like, hey, what's keeping you from buying the houses? She's like, well, I'm not sure I want to be a landlord. I really love, designing it and fixing up. I love your pictures on Facebook. I really have an interest in that. And she told me about her house and how they fixed it up and how she, how they bought a foreclosure, and then they had to, you know, decide how to design. She's like, I had no idea how to do that and how to pick out flooring. And so she's going through these things and I'm listening. And she's like, you know, she told me about being a landlord. And I'm like, you know, would it interest you if you, so I started telling, I know she's seen some stuff already. She knows there's class. I said, yeah, we got a class on how to manage property managers. If you buy it right and you have enough money, you don't have to worry about it. You know, worry about managing if that's not what you want to do and you don't have the time for that. Right. So every time they bring something up, I talk about a class. I reference the library. I reference the education. Right. I'm foreshadowing them. I'm future pacing them with understanding. Now, that's a little bit of a skill set that I got from doing personal development. But my point is, you guys, is that I'm always asking questions. So if it's in the beginning and like this was almost a follow-up and we went right to the money and we went right to getting started. And so I'm going to follow, she's watching, I can't remember, I'll have to look, but she's watching a couple of videos. She's off today and she's going to watch another video. I can't remember what it is. Maybe it's Michael's follow-up. And then I'm going to place the order, right? I've already told her, you know, our first step is getting started is, you know, once we've got enough information that this is what you want to do, obviously, and, you know, it was a great conversation yesterday and I moved her to the close. Then I said, we're going to place your order tomorrow. Right. And we'll, you know, you'll probably, you know, obviously have a lot of different ways you can fund this education. We'll determine what the best way is for you. And then, you know, we get started by opening up your education. Right. So I went through Jane Clark's 3-step thing. Exactly. Right. So my point to that is that even if it's that far along, or in Keo's case where they've been to a tour and they need to get to the intro, right, then we've got to ask, you know, would you want to, you know, do you believe it's valuable for you to see a little bit more information? You know, and I always ask at any given level, and I don't care what their answer is, but I'm always asking, you know, so far what you've seen on a scale of 1 to 10, you know, where do you see yourself with Renatus? Where do you see yourself getting started? You know, 10 was, I'm ready to go today. Or, you know, it could be a little bit less upfront and it could be, you know, do you like what you see? Do you enjoy the opportunity with Renatus? Perhaps getting, you know, have you ever considered getting some education? Yeah, you know, if things made sense for you, and I'm not worried about it right now, but if everything worked out, would education be something you'd be interested in, right? If they're like, nah, I don't need any education, you know what I mean? Then you get their feelers. Now I'm still going to move them to the intro, and immediately, all right, but Bilal, I'm going to get to this next for you. And I don't care if the guy's a 3 or a 7, or a 10. If they're a 10, I'm going to the order. But nobody's coming out and saying, yes, I'm a 10, unless they're like, hey, if your question is, if money wasn't an object, scale 1 to 10, would you be starting today? Absolutely, I'd start today. I'm like, good. So we need to just figure out the funding. Let's get your order placed and then go from there, right? Other than that, I'm moving to the next. So I do say, this is what I said. Would you want to jump on a video that we did last week, like kind of a follow-up video, really to narrow down the different options with Renatus on the different, maybe go to get in a little more description of all the real estate classes we do have so you can understand it exactly. And then we'll talk about getting you started. Would that interest you? And of course they say yes. So then I know to send them a video, right? And, or I know to, you know, book them to the next live event. I will tell you this. I am not waiting till Thursday if I have somebody who wants to see an intro. Now they might see it live on Dane, but I'll send them to the follow-up with Wanda or Michael, or I'll send them to a property tour on Wednesday night. But get the recording of the last one Dane did and tell them who Dane is and edify Dane and send them Dane's intro, right? Or one of my intros or whatever the case is. I've just been using the most recent because stuff is so getting outdated. I don't even want to miss it. The last time I did an intro was 4 or 5 or 6 weeks ago because of our transfer over. So I'm sending people videos the minute they're interested. Okay, how do you ask for the money? Can you open my mind with some of that example? These steps are so important, and I wish I had more time. And if we don't know how to move someone through this process, and you guys, I appreciate this more than anything because it's the hardest part, right? You get these leads, right? They go to an event, they're interested, but they're not like opening their wallet. They're not like, I want to go to the next event. They're not telling you They're not telling you unless you're asking. They're not saying, get me enough information so that I know what exactly everything you're offering. I know the differences between the packages. I know how much stuff costs. Then I know how to find out how to pay for it. And then I know if it's how much time it's going to take for me to do it. I really don't have that much time to study 400 hours. And do I really need all of it? Or why do they're not going to say any of those things until you ask, right? So we have to ask what they're thinking. What are you thinking? How do you feel? What is going on? Do you like the education, right? We have to ask questions. So now as we move them forward and we have to ask for the money, right? I spent time yesterday with a gentleman who I know cannot afford it. And I shouldn't say it that way. I know is struggling with the money, and that's it. I know his situation. I've gotten to learn it very much. He's been on every event there is. There's no more events. You heard Umair and Yaz talk about, they're not, if you're putting somebody into 8, 9, 10 events, you're wasting, it's fine to plug them in, but that's a drip campaign. 3, 4, 5 events max. If they're not making a decision and getting started and looking for the money, then they're not ready. They're not raw, ready, able, and willing. They're not ready to get going, right? At the 2nd, 3rd, 4th event max, they are looking for the money. Most of them are broke to an extent, right? They think they're broke, and then we have to work on the funding. So when we're moving them through this process and we're asking for the money, right? Most of the time, I'm always asking, and I asked him this yesterday, Dave, if money wasn't an issue, right? Let's just say whatever the level of money is, would you be buying would you be at least buying the advanced combo right now? Like, would you be getting started? And he hesitated a little bit. He's so, for lack of a better word, he's so afraid of it. And he's like, well, yeah, I don't want to borrow money from an angel investor and be in debt if I can't pay it back. Like, he's fearful of debt. And so he's not ready. He doesn't understand, right? He's like, you know what he said? If I could do 4 or 5 wholesales and I had an extra 40 or 50 grand, then yeah, it would make sense for me to buy the money. And of course, if I had the money, I would do it. And I'm like, dude, you've been wanting to do real estate for 5 years and you're telling me you're going to go out and do 4 or 5 wholesales? And he laughed. He's like, well, yeah, I'm just saying, given the market and stuff like that. I'm like, it's not possible. I go, you're missing the elements. If it was possible, you'd be doing it. Right? And so and he even asked me, he's like, are you afraid of having all the leverage that you have? And it went through. So so we're gonna move forward from that. So right there, I know that I'm gonna pull teeth to get Dave. Now I'm gonna plug Dave in, but I let Dave go. Like, I've been working with Dave for 3 weeks and he was a solid lead and I thought he was gonna buy, and he's too afraid. And he has some resources and he could do it, but he would strap it. So I'll drip on him a little bit. I'll invite him to one or two things a month or something like that until something in his life either gets worse or he makes some money, right? But if he makes money, what's he going to do? He's going to pay off debt. He's not buying education. Nobody's going to make a bunch of extra money, go get a part-time job to make extra money so they can buy education with cash. No. What are they going to do with it? They're going to pay off their bills. They're going to go on vacation. They're going to treat their family to a dinner. They're going to pay down debt. They're going to buy the kids whatever they needed. That they're going to get a part-time job to fix all the problems. They're not going to get a part-time job to go into something else that's going to take them 6 more months to make money on. It doesn't work that way. Otherwise, everybody would pay for college that way. And they're not going to do it. People borrow money to go to college. That's it. They borrow it from somebody. Or they rarely do you see, there are a few that will work themselves through college, but they get student loans of their own, on their own, and then they pay the student loans, or they pay for they don't have any other thing but the student loan to pay for the education, but they still got to pay for their room and board, right? So, all right, how do I open my mind to asking for the money? I always ask them, you guys, I know that Lori's credit is an 820. I know that Lori only has a brand new 10-year mortgage at 2.1%, where her mortgage and her new toy barn and her entire new 10-year mortgage from a 30-year mortgage is $40 less a month than it was when she had a 30-year mortgage and didn't have the toy barn and didn't refinance. I know that she has $180,000 or $60,000 of equity, and she's never had a equity line of credit on her house. I know that she has a retirement account because she's been working 16 years for the university. She's retiring in 8 more years. I know all of these things. How? Because I asked multiple questions. How's your credit? right? Well, and then she even dives in, hey, so do you buy a mortgage? Do you get a traditional mortgage to buy a house? I'm like, you know what? Traditionally, you're going to be buying houses from motivated sellers, and they're going to want you to close quickly, especially if it's a foreclosure, an REO. You got buying power, and one of the closing strategies is buying. So you might want to use cash or hard money. She's like, oh yeah, that's good. I've heard about hard money, right? And I'm like, yeah, I've even got a lender who will lend you in Michigan. I know exactly who it is. I'll put you in touch with them, right? So I'm educating her a little bit, but she can't go out and do it. But you guys can do the same education whether or not you've done it, because why? You're studying the classes. And you're studying the classes not so you're not only prepared to do real estate in the future, but so that you can talk to people about being able to do real estate, right? Like you could literally put real estate aside for a little while, and you could say, this is my part-time job. And you could study the education as if that is the product you're selling, as if you were studying a product in a sales world. Like if you're who wouldn't want to be a medical salesperson or a pharmaceutical salesperson, right? It's off the freaking chain, right? I was just talking to my buddy. He's working on a $263 million COVID testing product thing that he could be. He's like, well, obviously it's not just his deal. He's like, that'd be the biggest sale of my career, right? Right? But you have to study the product. You have to know the product. You have to understand the COVID. You have to understand the research, everything about it. You have to understand your competitors and all that crap. So you study it in order to sell it. He's not out testing the product. He's not out using the product. He's simply just testing it. And no one's going, hey, have you used this? No. In the clinical studies, it's gone, this is what the evidence we found. And you say, no, but my buddy Nate, my buddy Bill, my buddy Wanda, my buddy blah, 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 blah. They all did all this stuff. And you're just selling in the testimonies, right? It's the same clinical freaking studies. So the way we ask for the money, okay, the way that we move people to another direction is we need to understand their situation. And this is the way I ask, right? The number one thing is, do you feel like you have enough information to make a decision about Renatus, right? Or, let's make sure we've got enough information so that you can make an educated decision, right? So let's just say you're ready. Right? You feel pretty comfortable about Renatus. You feel good about it, like making the decision to get some. Yeah, I think it's one of the best programs. Whatever they say is correct. You're exactly right. That's totally right. I agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more. I knew you'd say that. This is awesome. Thank you. All of these things I'm saying, not all of them at once, but one of many I'll say, right? And then it's this. It's like, listen, so you've seen a little bit of the follow-up. You understand some of the funding options. And I flat out ask them, I bet you have thought about how you would pay for this education. How do you think you want to pay for this education? Assuming the sale, assuming they're going to buy it. I know they're going to buy it. I'm not, right? If, how did you, if you needed to buy a $23,000 car, how would you do? Would you get a car loan, or what would you do? And so that would be the question that I would ask first, right? And then they're going to give me an idea. Well, I could use my, I've got to talk to my husband or my spouse or whatever it is. And, I've got a 401k. I'm like, have you heard of the 401k loan? And they're like, oh yeah. I heard you could borrow. I don't know much about it. I've never done it before. Yeah. You could actually borrow up to 50 grand and pay yourself back with interest. Oh, that's really cool. I had heard that. That's interesting. I was thinking about getting a home equity line. Yeah. Do you have any, you've got equity in your house. Have you ever thought about a home equity line? So I'm asking them about the different options and where they're at. And they're like, oh, I don't have any equity, And even I asked Dave the other day, he's like, well, I don't know if it would appraise. And I called the credit union and I got like 30 grand, but I don't think they'll only go to 80% based on my debt to income. Right. So he's already thought about it, even though I know. And I say this to a lot of people. I'm like, regardless of whether or not you buy the education, eventually you're going to do real estate, right? That's your goal. Yeah. I'm going to, I want to get into real estate, and you're running a business. I go, at least you would like to know what resources you have for perhaps doing your own deals or, enhancing your business. So you may want to look into your own equity line of credit. That money's sitting there and you can tap into it, especially now that the market's high. You may want to look into the fact that you could borrow against your own 401k. You could borrow against your own life insurance. You could borrow against your own credit. There's a lot of 0%. You could do this. And whether or not you buy the Renatus education, at least you got a resource for future endeavors, whether it's business or real estate, right? Wouldn't you think that would be a good idea? So I am stating something, and then I'm asking them how they feel about it and what they thought about it and if they want to do it, right? So they're telling me how they're going to fund their education. And Dave flat out told me he didn't have the money. He couldn't get a HELOC. He has no credit. He's extended. He doesn't want more monthly bet. The billing doesn't even sound enticing because he doesn't want to take on another bet. And so we were left with angel investor. And he's afraid to even borrow money from an angel investor. So he's on the back burner right now. I'm focused on Rick and Lori, who are coming to me telling me I'm ready to place my order based on a Facebook post and a few videos that they saw. They've both gone to live events and recorded events over the last 2 weeks. So these are both high school friends of mine that have been following me on Facebook for, I don't know how long, years. And they reached out. So, you know, you're going to be doing this for a couple of years. You're not just doing it for 6 months or 3 months. So the Facebook post that you're posting right now, people are taking notice. You just don't know. All right. Yeah, Sue, absolutely. I love that it is too. So anyway, we'll wrap this up. Tell nothing, ask everything. And we always don't know what to say. We always don't know how to tell them something. And the reason is we shouldn't. We shouldn't tell them anything, and we shouldn't say anything to them. When we Facebook message and we go from a post, right? My responses on Facebook are intrigued. They're intriguing. They're complimentary. Thank you. That's awesome. Super cool. I know it's gay, whatever it is. I don't know. I'm not hip, but you know, awesome and cool are my words. Whatever it is, it's complimentary. And then it's intriguing. You know, that's awesome that you did that. You know, when did you start doing that? You know, my posts are always, of course, intriguing or inviting, right? Without ever, you know, kind of subtle call to actions. But then when I moved to direct message, you know, it's like I believe in speaking. So I'm always like, hey, get me your number. When's a good time to call you? Let me know what your number is and how you like to, you know, when you want me to call you, or I could shoot you a text, or you could text me with your number and I'll give them my number. Shoot me a text, give me your number, let's communicate. I just did that. I made a post last night. I got 3 bookings that I'm going to book people to the events this week, right? But I'm not going to say, hey, listen, this is what you need to do. Let's get on Thursday night. Not at all. I have no idea where the conversation is going to go. I have to ask. So what's got you interested in real estate? How long have you been wanting to do this? So one girl was like, yesterday, she posted last night. She's like, huh, interesting. And I'm like, I can help. Would you, you know, and then would you like me to message you? Yes. Perfect. Right. Yeah. Groovy. I like groovy. Right. And so, then in the message, I went direct to getting on a conversation. When's a good time? She's like, I'll be working on my call center all day, 8 to 5, making calls, but I take breaks. Shoot me a text and I'll call you back on a break. Right. Or leave a message. I'll call you back. So I'm going to call her up and I'm going to ask her, you know, and I know this person. She used to work out at the gym I used to work out, and she still lives up there. And I can confirm with my wife who it was. And I kind of researched her Facebook to see a little bit about her. And I'm going to ask questions. You know, what did you like about the post? You know, you know, do you own any rentals? You know, what's going on? Like and then people, the minute you ask about real estate and you ask them, hey, have you ever owned any real estate? Have you bought a deal before? You know, one person texted me. She's like, yeah, I bought real estate in the past and I want to do it again. Great. I can help you. Right. I'm going to PM you. I always say I can help. And I have one thing in mind and one goal in mind, and that is to get them in front of the information. So depending on what they're interested in learning, and if education and hey, would you like to see some of the resources that I use, that I personally have myself? I'm not going to say, you know, I bought this education. I'm not going to tell them anything. Would you want to see some of the things that I'm using to help me in my real estate? You know, would you want to do this? Would you want to do that? Have you ever thought about this? Is there a reason you haven't been buying any education? You know, what kind of resources do you have to do, or not education, real estate? What kind of resources do you have? How's your credit? Right? I'm asking these things because these are important things that I need to know so that I can move them forward in Renatus. And then I can put them in front of an event, right? And I'm going to end the conversation by bam, booking them to a meeting. That first call and those calls today are going to be a meeting. That is a meeting to me. And then I'm going to book them to another meeting. And then after that, I'm going to book them to a follow-up. And the follow-up is going to probably not be Michael or Juan on Thursday night, unless they don't have time to talk to me or they're not that interested. Then I'll book them to that meeting. Otherwise, The minute they go to an intro, they're going to a follow-up with me. And my follow-up is asking for the money and asking them if they have enough information to make a decision. On a scale of 1 to 10, where do you see yourself getting started with Renatus? Are you a 10, like right now, regardless of money, we'll figure out the money. I'm not worried about the money. Don't worry about the money. We'll figure out the money if this is what you want to do. But is this what you want to do on a scale of 1 to 10? Are you a 10, right? And if they're telling me I'm ready to go, if they're an 8, 9, or 10, then I'm moving to the money. Because if they're an 8, 9, or 10, they'd be doing it. The only reason they're not doing it is because they're not sure how to fund it. If they're a 5, 6, or 7, I'm just booking them to another meeting. I might ask them why, but they're not ready in their head. If they're a 6, 7, if they see an event and they see a property tour, they see a Dane Clark presentation, a Michael Huggins presentation, or Ryan Black, if they see one of our property tours with, you know, with Tawny Shaw and all these, you guys, they're interested. And if they're telling you they're a 6, 7, or 8, then something's wrong in their world, and they're not ready to do. They're not. I don't care how easy you make it. They're not ready to buy $20,000 worth of education, or $2,000 for that matter. They need to see more information, and we need to create more value in Renatus, and that just means more events. Cool. I got 808. I go too long. I apologize. All right. 760-533-3141. This is exactly the question that I was looking for, because this is the hardest part. This is why it's not easy. It's simple because it's a simple process. But if it was freaking easy, I would be at my goal already, right? You would all be happy as clams, making the money you want to make, building teams and having that stuff, right? But it is simple, and we need to know. I hate that. Right? We don't like the need word. If we choose to make it easier, and we choose to make it simpler, and we choose to make it beneficial and have the results we want, we say and tell nothing, and we ask everything. And we ask all the time. And they will say and tell us everything. And here's the thing. The Renatus life cycle, the Renatus wealth cycle, is you making extra money. For me, during the time and at the time, my answer was fix and flip. But I have lost money, and I have taken longer, and I missed out on wealth creation through fix and flip. That was my means of making instant, ordinary income. You have the ability to be a scholar. You have the ability to be a PhD. You have the ability to study the education, not worry about trying to get in a deal because you're going to miss a market. This market sucks. This market is terrible. The market you want to be in is when everybody else is running from the frickin' market, bashing real estate. The media sucks. The interest rates go up. The crap crashes. And that's when you want to buy. That's when you want to have money. Right now, you want to sell education. You want to sell to the masses. You want to know the education. You want to study. You want to be the scholar. And then you want to buy and hold. And then you want to sell. I'm selling 3 assets, and we may even sell a 4th. We may sell our primary residence right now. We only bought it 3 years ago because the Zestimate has it at a damn. I just have a comp right down the road that sold for $960. I bought this house for $469,000 3 years ago when I was flipping it. And if I don't need to live in it, and I don't care, I don't have kids, right? And I have the ability to move, who cares? I'll buy another dream house somewhere else in a year from now when the market's crashed. And I'll sit on a crap ton of assets where 300,000 will be like 3 million. You guys have the opportunity to be a scholar, to be a PhD, to study the education, and sell everybody else, the masses, the education, so they can get to a point where you are, and they don't get stuck buying houses in an up market. And you can help them win more so than the gurus. You can help them not make mistakes in a market. I don't know what's coming. I don't know if it's going to crash. I don't know how bad it's going to crash. I don't know when the foreclosures are coming. I don't know when the evictions are coming, but it's not free. Rent's not free. It's all due. When the forbearances are over, they're over. Same with the banks. They're not putting it on the back of the mortgages. The forbearance is a couple of months, and then you pay it all at once, or you're getting an NOD, and you're defaulting on your commercial, your residential, your multifamily, you're done. If you're not paying rents or mortgages, you're out. There's going to be ramifications, and we in Renatus will be prepared. You guys rock. You guys are awesome. I love every one of you. I am practicing what I'm preaching. I am trying my best. I'm setting myself up for not making, you guys, you don't want to learn real estate from me. I've screwed up the first 5 years. You want to learn real estate from Chris Wilson, Mark Kohler, Gavin McCaleb, Heather Echeverria, and all of them. We got the best 36 millionaire instructors on the planet that actually give a crap about you. All right. Thank you, guys. Love you. I'll see you on the flip side. I'll see you tomorrow with Dane. Can't wait to hear him. And you guys got my number if you need me. And I love every one of you. You guys are here because you're gonna be rock stars. That's why you're here. You're here because you give a crap about yourself and your family and others. And you got it, Bobby Johnson. Love you, dog. And you guys are good people. So love you guys. Thanks. You're welcome, Sue, Autumn, Daniel. Love you guys. Renatus, Team Elevate. Love you, Keely. And End Times Enterprises. You're awesome. Michael and Diana. Deborah, Bilal, Billy. Love you, brother. Deborah, Sue G, Hilda. Thank you so much, Kara, Doug, Mike, Leslie, Danielle. There's my girl, Robin. Love you, girl. And Wanda, I love having you on this call. Corey, of course, my team. Keo, thanks for the question. Bill, thanks for Doug Cook. Awesome. Everybody, I'll just flip through and I'll say goodbye and I'll turn it back over to you so you can end the call.
Okay. Thanks, Bill. That was awesome. Have a great day, everyone. See you
You
tomorrow.
too. Thanks, everybody.